G'day, I'm David G. Sheshnag Yoga Center, Sheshnag Mandir. What on earth is Kundalini? Sheshnag.com. This video is about my recent experience to do with my third chakra and the adrenalized state. A lot of people throwing around the words stress, and as sensitive beings, especially in the spiritual domain, there's a lot of sensitivity that we experience in our being, and empathically we experience energy from other beings. I've recently come to realize that the inner resonance that I resonate at is what I need to own and what I need to be in alignment with. I want to be true to my essence, and I want to be able to live harmoniously from within my own being as both an energetic being, a spiritually realized being, bringing that knowledge into the physical domain, but also with the 11 physiological systems, which include the nervous system, all those sort of things, as well as the 5 koshas of the Sanskrit and yogic philosophy to do with the elemental constitution of my own being. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a spiel on how I've come to understand the experience of stress relative to the gunas. In that, as I come more into my own understanding and my own power, then I can expand my own band of equilibrium, which is between the fluctuations of being human, where you're up or you're down, psychologically and emotionally and energetically, where you feel not under threat, where you feel peaceful, where I feel peaceful in my own being, where I'm allowed to be in a place where there can be joy, can be humour, can be light and life. So this is my understanding. I've done a little bit of a diagram just for a better understanding for those who are sort of a bit visually focused. So I understand there's this thing going on where external stresses are experienced through the sympathetic nervous system. It's very rare, almost impossible, to experience external stresses and let them affect you in regards to all those things that start with F, like fight, flight, freeze, and there's a new one, fawn, where you give your energy away to the other person and you're always focusing on pleasing them, so you become constantly stressed as well. So in a state of excited adrenalisation, I've come to realise that there's an experience of distress in regards to the stress. So you become frantic, become unstable, become hyper agitated. You're always looking outside of yourself. The threats outside of yourself are constantly bombarded upon your own energetic field, so you can't really do anything from a firm foundation, because the energetic experience within my own being is so fluctuating and vibrating excessively that there's no stillness, there's no poise. It's like constantly flying around. So in that state of distress, the sympathetic nervous system is excited. Often I found that I find distractions outside of myself to be able to distract myself from myself, so I don't actually have to face myself. So quite often up and externalized. That's called rajasic according to the yogic philosophy. When that excited state wears off and the sympathetic nervous system becomes exhausted, there's quite a big chance that the individual can go into an experience of depress. So one's stress and one's depress. So in the depression, there's there's exhaustion. There's still no poise or equilibrium to make sound decisions. There's no contentment within. There's no awareness. They're very unconscious experiences. They're governed by the subconscious mind and often created through the subconscious repetition of cycles throughout the life. It has to do with self-hatred and facing the self. So when it comes back to me as a person, there's a chance that depends on my own perspective of myself and my own conditioning, my own program, whether I get depressed or how this depression in energetic fluctuation affects me. That's known as tamas, the tamasic experience within the yogic philosophy, and that's a lack of movement. Don't get me wrong, these are talking about in regards to the stressful experience within the adrenalisation of the nervous system and the endocrine system, which has to do with excitatory and inhibitory responses to the external world. They have their positives. Like if it was coming from a firm foundation of equilibrium, then having a poise, rajas, the excessive movement, can create the opportunity to have dynamism, to have laser-pointed concentration, to be able to have sharp memory, be able to be active in everyday life in a very functional way. Tamas is a very still energy. It's very sedentary, but from there's a lot of people that are very still in their poise. They make good listeners, you know. There's an opportunity to be solid in your own beliefs without fluctuation. There's also opportunities to be well grounded in your own being. So tamas has very positive experiences. This isn't talking about that. This is talking about how to beat the fluctuations that are inevitable as a human. The other guna is sattva. And there's a little band. Sometimes it's just the thinnest band, because as humans we fluctuate so much, we're so used to the fluctuation that the little band, to do with the parasympathetic nervous system, which brings our whole endocrine system into an experience of equilibrium, comes from self-nourishment through love and provides us with an experience of contentment. But if our life's always focused on external threats or external people, especially in relationship or the dynamics of family where the children are involved, then the energy is rarely brought in for an experience of self-nourishment. In that lack of self-nourishment, the body is constantly under an experience of stress. So it's very hard to make the little band into something bigger. It's written here as a decent size, with the hope that through yogic techniques, self-discipline, movement-based therapies, whatever floats your boat, the whole experience designed as a human throughout the day to implement a routine that suits you constitutionally, to provide you with self-nourishment that gives you self-love and provides you with the opportunity to encourage contentment and acceptance within your own being. Like, say, a morning yoga routine, a morning walk in the park, walking the dog, you know, whatever it is, some form of self-nourishment that doesn't leave you behind at the expense of putting all the energy externally into things such as other people, work, and obligations that have been created within your own experience of life. So I just wanted to talk about stress and what I've come to realise and put that in context in regards to the gunas of the yogic philosophy. It's a massive, massive experience to be able to provide oneself with nourishment. So hopefully you can expand your experience of the energy of equilibrium to be able to sometimes go into the sedentary energy and sometimes go into the dynamic energy and fluctuate between the two. rather than fight oneself all the time and then be in a constant state of stress, and then ultimately it creates over-adrenalisation and fatigue, and it's not healthy for anyone involved, especially if you're involving anyone else in your life. So there you go. There's my video on stress, the gunas, the state of equilibrium, coming from a position of poise, being conscious in the dynamics of subconscious repetition of cycles in your life. Thanks for sharing, thanks for being here, and there is another video on the YouTube channel for the Gunas. It talks about these three experiences, the energetic dynamics of being human a bit more. Also, it's in book 3 of the What on Earth is Kundalini series that's now available on Amazon. So thanks for joining me. You guys have a good day. Om Namah Shivaya, Hara Hara Mahadev. Share the world. Peace.